It's game day, game 5 tonight, where the Leafs have a chance to advance to round number 2. Sheldon Keefe has made his decision on Michael Bunting. We'll tell you what it is and how it impacts the lineup ahead of the game tonight. All that more coming up on today's edition of Locked On Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the April 27th edition of the Locked On at Leafs podcast. It's your one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother from TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me, it's my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also a writer for the NHLPA. If you're an everydayer, you already know all this information, but if you are a first-time listener to the show, Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts from. We're also free and available on YouTube as well to check out some video content and see these ugly mugs every day while we speak. You could check us out, Locked On Leafs, on YouTube. Hit subscribe. New content coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. Hit the little notification bell as well so you can be alerted exactly when we drop new content. And look, Dave, we're pretty close, man, to doing something that has not been done in this city in nearly 20 years, and that's advance to round 2. The Maple Leafs could do that tonight. Dude, tonight it could happen. They're up 3-1 on the Tampa Bay Lightning and on the verge of advancing to round 2. How you feeling on the morning of this day?
Yeah, just waiting, and there's a lot of anticipation and just hoping that everything that we've been talking about, all the excitement, it finally gets, we see the other side of it, right? There's that line in the sand right now. It's been drawn, and Leafs are gonna have to fight like heck to cross over it. And I think a lot of fans right now are like, they're like right at the edge, and they're ready to go over. They're ready to go over that line, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of anxiousness. Let's just say when puck drop happens tonight.
Well, that's what it is, right? Like, no one in Leafs Nation actually believes that they're going to finish off this series and put away the Lightning until it actually happens.
Yep.
Like, we've been there in 2013 where it looked like the Maple Leafs were going to go through to round 2. And what happened? Oh, the 4-1 debacle, the collapse of 2013 happened. We all thought that it was going to happen back in 2020 in the bubble against the Montreal Canadiens, up 3-1 in the series, heading back home. And what happens? Well, they all of a sudden lose the game in game 5. They go back to Montreal. They tie the game, bring it to overtime. They lose in game 6, and we all know what happened in game 7. Last year, same thing. Up 3-2. Going to Tampa Bay, a chance to put them away in their own building. Can't do it. Lose that game in overtime. And then go ahead and lose again in game number 7. So the Maple Leafs have really broken the hearts of fans in the past. So there's a lot of scar tissue that's there. But still, I feel like there's a weird level of confidence and excitement going into tonight's game that maybe there hasn't been or there wasn't last year. Like last year when they were playing the Tampa Bay Lightning and they had a chance to put them away in game 6, I didn't feel as confident that it was going to actually happen as I do tonight. I don't know if you're in the same boat or if you're still a little weary about things, but that's how I feel going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're just not gonna believe until it actually happens. And we've seen what happens when the pressure is on this team in those critical moments. They have a hard time finding a way to flip that switch, right? And they got to find a way to do it in this game, because you open the door ever so slightly to a team that's been there and done it before, and they're going to make you pay, right? And just, why make things harder? Why do we have to make things harder? Let's just enjoy our weekend, just can relax. And look, Toronto's gonna if the Leafs pull this off, Toronto's going to need a little bit of time to recover too, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing I think people need to keep in mind here that
It's been an ice bag series, both sides.
yeah,
Both sides. It's been an ice bag series too. Like typically it's not, the Leafs aren't dishing it, but this year they are. They've got guys like Luke Shen, they've got guys like Nola Chari, like Zach Aston Reese, dudes who are making it very difficult on the other end to play against. Ryan O'Reilly in the cycle game leaning on players and defensemen down low. So it definitely it's been a hard fought series, and for sure, I think if they can get it done in Game 5, gives them a couple extra days to rest up ahead of round 2. Because guess what didn't happen last night, Dave? The Boston Bruins didn't get it done, which means the Boston Bruins have to continue to play the Panthers forced to Game 6. So if Toronto can end it, they'll have that extra day's rest, right, against Boston if they do. Maybe even the Panthers can even take it to a Game 7. Who knows? And if that's the case, even more rest that the Maple Leafs can end up having. But again, got to try and get it done in 5 games to get that little bit of an advantage. We will take a look at the lineup tonight and also kind of our 3 keys to victory if Toronto is indeed going to make sure that they come away with the win, put away Tampa for the first time, and advance to the second round for the first time in 19 years. But there was one decision that we we're all kind of waiting on that finally did come down earlier today. And we talked about this on yesterday's podcast. So again, if you're an everydayer and you listen to the show daily, you would have heard us talking about the merits of having Michael Bunting in the lineup and maybe the concerns about putting Michael Bunting back in the lineup. And that was Sheldon Keefe's biggest question that he had to answer today was, what are you doing with this guy come tomorrow in Game 5? And the decision's been made, Dave. Michael Bunting will not play in game number 5. He'll be a healthy scratch in tonight's game. Sheldon Keefe said it wasn't an easy decision, just feels comfortable with the group now that they've won 3 games in a row, but did say the message to Bunting was to stay ready. He will get back in at some point here, whether it's in game number 6 if things don't go out for the Leafs tonight. I would imagine Bunting checks back in, or things go swimmingly and he comes back into the lineup at some point in round number 2. But Michael Bunting not playing tonight. You were of the opinion that he should go in the lineup. So I'm curious as to what your thoughts are now that you know he's not, and if you think Keefe made the right decision.
Well, I mean, you made a great point, and I guess I'm gonna have to give you credit for making a really good case for Michael Bunting to not be in the lineup. It just seems like there were players who are more deserving to be in the lineup right now, and even suspension aside, right? Just by what the players were providing in this series, like we talked about, oh, just take somebody off the 4th line. But if you look deeper into the numbers, this 4th line has been pivotal defensively for this Leafs team going up. It's truly been a top to bottom effort from the forward group to minimize what this Lightning team can do, especially at 5-on-5. So I totally get that, and I really do think it came down to Matthew Nyes has earned more of the trust of Sheldon Keefe than Michael Bunting. And if you had your pick between Matthew Nyes and Michael Bunting, I would say 99.9% of Leaf fans are going to be taking Matthew Nyes right now.
Right now, yeah, but I don't think the decision really is Michael Bunting or Matthew Nyes. I think ultimately, like, you could definitely take out Sam Lafferty or Zach Aston Reese for sure, I guess, for Michael Bunting. I don't think even if Bunting gets back in Game 6 or in round 2, it's not Matthew Nyes who's coming out of the lineup. That's not even the conversation. It's going to be one of those 2 wingers on the 4th line. The problem, I think, is, then what do you do with your lineup? Where does Michael Bunting fit? Because he doesn't fit on the 4th line. So you'd have to play him up the lineup a little bit and then move things down. And now you're shuffling a lot of different things. That said, Sheldon Keefe has shuffled his lines, and we'll take a look at the lineup projection heading into Game 5 in a few minutes. But ultimately, for a lot of the reasons why I thought that Michael Bunting should not go into the game is basically similar to what Sheldon Keefe was talking about. How he looks at the way his top six sets up, he looks at the way his bottom six sets up, and he kind of likes the way that everything falls into place when he's not in the lineup. And again, it's not that Michael Bunting isn't better than Aston Reese or better than Lafferty. I think he is the better player, but does he play the role that they can play that is necessary to win against the Tampa Bay Lightning? That is, I think, the question that we need to ask ourselves. And that's the question that I believe Keefe asked himself. And he said, no, I don't think so. I think Sam Lafferty in a fourth line role will get the job done more than Michael Bunting would in a fourth line role. In order for him to be successful, he had to play up the lineup, but he liked Yarncroc playing up with Austin Matthews, and he obviously put Matthew Nyes up in the top six. All of a sudden, there's no spot for him in the top six, and you're not going to play him in your bottom six. So unfortunately, he finds himself on the outside looking in. I'll give some credit to Michael Bunting, though. Looks like he's taking the decision in stride. He said he obviously doesn't like that he's not playing, but he's still going to root for the boys. And he's, said this is a team and this is the sacrifice I have to make for the betterment of the team. That's what he's got to do. He also apparently has reached out to Eric Chernak to apologize. Didn't get into the details of what was said, but did reach out and apologize. And William Nylander also came out today and said that Bunting, despite everything that's gone on, still has been a pretty energetic guy and has been rooting on the boys throughout the suspension, and even plans to, will be supportive going into Game 5, despite him, with his first healthy scratch of the season. Played all 82 games this year, right? So it's his first healthy scratch of the season, or first game that he's missed of the season that he was eligible to play. So it's definitely going to be a different situation for Bunting. But I will say this: I don't think it's the end. If they don't win in Game 5, I believe he will be back in the lineup in Game 6. And if they do win Game 5, he will be back in the lineup at some point early in round 2. I do believe that as well. All right. On the other side, though, without Michael Bunting in the lineup, who is in the lineup and how does it look? Because it doesn't look the same as how it started in Game 3. I can tell you that. Lots of line juggling again from Sheldon Keefe. We got a new look lineup. We'll unveil it on the other side. And we'll also give our 3 keys to victory tonight for the Maple Leafs and how they can close out the Tampa Bay Lightning and advance to round 2. All that coming up. But first, Dave, a word from our show sponsor.
Yes, it's one of our favorite show sponsor. It is Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever built. You gotta try a Built Bar. If you're like me and you want to eat a healthier snack but don't want to compromise on taste, then Built Bars are the perfect thing for you because they are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so great, and you won't think that they're actually good for you because that's how great they taste. They're made with 100% real chocolate, come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar and maintain amazing macros like a whopping 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar and 17 grams of protein per bar. And you don't need to wait to go and get a box. Now you can go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club. You can get your special flavors that are available over at built.com. That's right. Head over to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puff. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with hit flavors like brownie batter puff and churro puff. You can thank me later. And if you like to go and order at built.com, you can use the promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your next order. And you can order many great products like the little mini Built Puffs that are Built Puff Bites. They're smaller. If you don't want the whole Built Bar, go and grab yourself a Built Bar Puff Bites. Over at built.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your next order.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We're hosts here at Locked On Leafs, and it's Game 5, a chance for Toronto to close it out. They've had ample opportunity. Ample. I think they've 9, 10 straight games or times where they've had a chance to close out a series and advance to round 2, and they have come out on the other side as losers. Just flat out losers in 9 or 10 in a row. This is an opportunity tonight for them to change that narrative and get through the second round for the first time since 2004. You and I were 10 years old the last time the Maple Leafs were in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. 10 years old. Wild stuff.
Thanks
Uh,
for the reminder, Mike.
what's that?
Thanks for the reminder. You couldn't even watch those games in HD. I hope you remember that.
No, straight up watching them on, on CBC, Coach's Corner, the whole nine. That's kind of how it was back then.
Tube TVs. I didn't even have a flat screen at that point.
Back in my day, it was regular definition on the CBC. That's what it was.
I literally had to sit on my floor to get close enough to actually watch on the TV.
Okay, you're making it sound like you're born in the 50s now, Dave. This
Hey,
is
I just want,
talking about last
I want the newer generation to understand the struggles we went through and how spoiled we are now of the great technology available to us.
Dave, so I was looking at our audience on YouTube today, right? Just kind of looking at some of the analytics that we can look at for who's looking at our watching our videos.
Who are our everydayers? Is that
who our everydayers are exactly? And a majority of them are older than us, Dave. So when you're talking to the viewers, they know what you're talking about. And some of them, based on the age category that we have, some of them actually witnessed the last Stanley Cup and probably did have to sit 5 feet from their small, tiny TV that was in black and white and sit cross-legged, as their parents were also sitting in the room with them listening on the radio or something like that. So, the people know. The people get it, I think, is what I'm getting at. The people, they understand what it's like. Luckily, here in the year of our Lord 2023, we got high def. We can watch it, whatever. We can stream it. You can watch it on your phone, on your TV, your computer, your tablet, whatever, wherever you can watch these games. I don't even know how we ended up into that conversation. Anyways, before we get into this lineup, how about them Panthers?
You gotta love an underdog story, except Sergei Bobrovsky, who's not really much of an. Would you call him an underdog?
No, definitely not.
Like guy who's getting paid $10 million should have performed like he did tonight. It's funny because I was talking with some friends about that game. It's like Boston didn't play their best, yet they still dominated the game, and that's what makes the Bruins just such it's just so annoying watching that team play because they just find ways to win. Although Brad Marchand is probably really kicking himself. 8 seconds left 7 seconds left in the game, breakaway to try to win the game.
Like a buzzer beater. Would have been a buzzer beater. It would have been amazing. Imagine how Florida would have felt if that's how their season ended. Oh, it would have been brutal. But
I'm sure the Bruins ownership group is also really happy the fact that if that goal went in, it would have saved them a lot of money on a flight. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably had already a lot of that stuff booked, but they could have gotten a nice little refund. Boys wouldn't have to all travel to Florida.
Well, would have been able to have some rest. Like that's a pretty beaten and battered group, right? Like Bergeron returned to play in the game, but scored a goal in the game. But he's not 100%, not even close to it. I know he's playing, but he's still playing injured. David Krejci didn't play in this game tonight. He's not at 100%. So there's some injuries going around in that room that they definitely could have used the win tonight to, have a couple extra days of rest before getting into it in for round 2. But credit to the Florida Panthers. Credit to Linus Ullmark on a brutal giveaway to allow the Panthers to score a pretty easy goal in overtime. But yeah, so it's a 3-2 series now heading back to Florida, and they want to try and make it force a game 6. We'll see if they could do it, or they've already forced game 6, want to force a game 7. We'll see if they can do it. The Lightning will be trying to force a game 6 tonight, though. Toronto not trying to do a Boston Bruins. They would like to eliminate this team in 5 games, and we have new lines And Sheldon Keefe really took out the blender once again. And we shouldn't be surprised. We've honestly seen this. He's been doing this for a while now. Like, we were talking all of this nonsense about how, he's got to figure out a lineup for the playoffs. I mean, playoffs are almost here. There's only 10 games, 8 games, 7 games, 3 games. He's still tinkering with the lines. And here we are midway through the playoffs. They've just won 3 games in a row, and he's still tinkering with the lines. So we should have really seen this coming, that all this line tinkering was really going to continue into the playoffs. But we do have some new lines, and I got to be honest with you, Dave. I love them. I
You
think
love
this is
him.
the best lineup configuration that he could have put out there. This is very similar to the lineup that I chose, that I crafted about a week before the playoffs started, and this is what all you really have to do. I think by taking out Bunting, I had Bunting in there over Nyes, but besides that, it's very similar to what I had, and I like it. So I don't know if we can pull it up, but pretty much Nylander and Marner have been separated, and it's going to be Yarncroc, Matthews, and Nylander on the top line. Matthew Nyes is on the second line with John Tavares and Mitch Marner. How about that? Matthew Nyes has played 6 games and has already earned the trust from Sheldon Keefe to play top 6 role with Mitch Marner and John Tavares.
Yeah, no, it's great for the kid because he deserves it, right? We were really wondering if we could count on him to be, a contributor. And the funny thing is that how many of the, I'm gonna say the old school media, I'm gonna call some of them out there, like, we're like, how you can't expect a kid like Matthew Nyes to come into the Stanley Cup playoffs and contribute in a positive way right away. Like, that's putting too much pressure on the kid. And a lot of the guys who I would say that watch a lot of, prospect stuff, a lot of, junior hockey,
Yeah, like
college hockey,
friend of the show, Tony Ferrari,
Tony
Scott
Ferrari,
Wheeler, guys like that.
guys like that who said, like, no, this guy should be able, even if it's on the third line, third line, this guy should be able to find a way to be a contributor. And lo and behold, he's done exactly that. And I didn't see a top 6 promotion coming when the playoffs started, obviously because he wasn't even in the conversation when the Leafs started. But as you watched him play each game and you saw Sheldon Keefe, as soon as he made that first switch to put him in the top 6, I said, man, it would be nice if this was a permanent solution. And that finally does happen. I think it's just a testament to a lot of the things he does well. And hopefully now the offense will start to come with it too, because that's the last piece of the puzzle right there. Him to have more contribution offensively, like when he set up Ryan O'Reilly for Noel Chari, or he was a part of that first goal. We saw a bit of that. We see him have that nose for the net. Those are positive attributes that you can put to Matthew Knies' game. Now it's starting to let's see some of the results, and I think playing him with Tavares and Marner should definitely do that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you talk about it in the second and third period. You saw him take some shifts up top when the tinkering started to occur. You saw Nyes, Matthews, and Marner go over the bench, and those guys had a nice shift in the offensive end. Then you saw Nyes, Tavares, and Nylander kind of play together on a line, and you thought to yourself, "This is interesting." That Matthew Nyes is getting a chance to play up top in the top 6. I wonder if Sheldon Keefe is thinking about, making him a permanent fixture up there. And, well, it looks as though that is going to be the case tonight in game number 5. And to your point, you're right. The only thing that we haven't seen out of Matthew Nyes is him bury a goal. He's played well defensively. He's done really well along the boards. He's played, set up some nice plays. He's had some good chances, but he's yet to actually finish and bury. That's the one thing that we're missing. And wouldn't it be awesome if he could do it in a clinching game 5? That'd be awesome if that were to happen. And hey, there's no better way to get set up for a nice goal than be playing online with Mitchell Marner. So keep your head on a swivel, keep your stick on the ice, kid, because that guy could find you in a very opportune spot on the ice. So that should be a really, really fun thing to watch tonight. I also do like Kerfoot, O'Reilly, and Achari as a third line. That'll be a checking line. And think about it, you're going back home, right? So now Sheldon Keefe back on home ice, he gets to dictate the final change once again. Like game 3 and game 4, he didn't really have a say in how things were going to shake out off the draw. It's obviously once you get some on the fly shift changing, you get a little bit more of a say, but last change goes to Tampa in games 3 and 4, and they did a pretty good job of stifling Toronto's offense for most of the part up until the final, 10 minutes of those games. Now it's time for Toronto to get home ice, to get that last change again, and having Kerfoot, O'Reilly, and Achari as a complete shutdown trio, I think is a really smart move. And you have the exact same thing with Aston Reese, Camp, and Lafferty. The top 6, bottom 6, I think is something that works for this team against the Tampa Bay Lightning, because Tampa's built very similarly. So if you can have, your bottom 2 lines go out there, shut down their top 6, all of a sudden that frees up those top 2 lines of Toronto to go out there and cook on offense. So I really think that the Maple Leafs have a really good opportunity here at home, the way that they've configured this lineup, to do some damage tonight. And then the blue line, no changes again. There was some talk about maybe Timothy Liljegren coming in for Justin Hall, but once again, nope. Won 3 games in a row. We're not going to change a winning lineup, so they're going to stick with the same deep pairings, and I don't mind that either, Dave.
No, you really don't. And I know everyone wants Justin Hall to come out of the lineup for Timothy Liljegren. It's a very long playoff. Injuries happen. Knock on wood that nothing happens.
We hope it's a very long playoff.
Yeah,
We
right.
haven't seen one in 20 years, but we
I
hope it's a long playoff run.
it would be such a tough spot to put Timothy Liljegren into a elimination game. Hasn't even played a single minute of this Stanley Cup playoffs, and you're gonna just throw him in. I like you got to the guys. There's guys who have rhythm chemistry who know exactly how things are going out there. Sure, Timothy Liljegren has seen a lot of it from the press box, but it's another thing to get him onto the ice. So yeah, I just think you can't really make drastic changes and change up your whole game plan. Yeah, the Leafs didn't exactly play great in games 3 and 4, but they still found a way to get the win. And I'm sure now that the series has come back home, as you said, the matchups are going to make things a little easier for Toronto, because now they can dictate certain things that Tampa was able to take advantage of in games 3 and 4, and control most of the play. Gonna hope that now things can kind of switch with home ice being a factor again.
And Sammy's back on home ice.
Oh yes,
Sammy's back on home ice. I mean, I know that they went in there and they won those games, and he was exceptional in game 3, stole that game for them. But when you look at it, like, he's allowed, 3 and 4 goals? He's allowed 7 goals in his last 2 games over there. He comes back home where he's got, basically a sub 2 goals against and a .930 save percentage. I like those chances. Sammy likes to play at Scotiabank Arena. I know game 1 didn't go his way. It went nobody's way. But, Samsonov with a chance to, really put away that narrative that he is not a playoff goaltender. He's not a playoff performer. Those question marks that everybody had. Can you trust this guy? He's never done it before. What was it? He was like 1-7 in his playoff career after game 1. And there was a lot of, oh, maybe Joseph Wall should start game 2 conversation. Well, guess what? He's gone out and won 3 in a row, and now he goes back home into his kingdom where he's been the best goaltender on the ice most games when he's inside that building, and a chance to close things out. I think there's a lot of narratives that can be flipped around if the Maple Leafs can pull the win off tonight. With that, let's take one more quick break, Dave. When we come back, why don't we go through the 3 keys we believe are necessary in order for them to do just that tonight? What will they need to do to make sure that they pull up the victory and put away the Tampa Bay Lightning and advance into round 2? We'll get to that on the other side. But first, let me tell you about one of today's show sponsors, and it's our good pals at eBay Motors. A championship team is about each other being a perfect fit. Same with their vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available To U.S. customers eligible, items apply. Exclusions also apply. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We're hosts here at Locked On Leafs. Toronto with a chance to advance to round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They currently lead the series 3-1, with Game 5 taking place tonight on home ice. Dave, they've yet to win a 4th game in a series since 2004. What are some keys to the game tonight that the Maple Leafs are going to have to do to ensure that they are able to completely exercise those first-round demons, win this game, and advance to the next stage of the playoffs?
I'm going to sound like a bit of a broken record here, but I've always been big on starting off right, getting that first goal. Leafs are a different team when they get out early. They can get the crowd into it. Like that arena is going to be bumping. Everyone's going to be, waiting for that first goal to happen. So give that arena a reason to get loud. Make Tampa have to work to win this game, right? I think instead of giving it up to them like they almost did in Game 4, make Tampa work for it. So I would say start on time and make Tampa really work for their chances. Don't give away things easily. And then I'm going to give a third one, which is Ilya Samsonov is going to have to outduel Andrei Vasilevsky in an elimination game, which is not an easy thing. Like we've been hearing a lot about Vasilevsky, how he's looked human, all that conversation about whether he could track a point shot, which has been very entertaining.
Well, did you hear Cooper
I heard him
debunk Derek Lalonde's commentary there on the broadcast the other night, saying that apparently that did not happen?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't admit it either if I was
Yeah, I don't believe him for a second. Not for 1 second. That certainly happened. Lalonde has no reason to lie about that on national television.
No,
Anyway.
He's not going to make himself look like an idiot. John Cooper has no problem doing that sometimes, but I would say that, like it's a very hard task to make Andrei Vasilevsky look human. They have done it so far. And I think the more that they allow him to get comfortable in this game, the easier it's going to be for him to steal a game, right? So they got to get into his grill, get traffic in front of him, get him moving side to side. Basically, if he can see it, he's going to stop it. You've said that many times before. They're going to have to make him really work to earn each save that he gets in this game.
100%. So far, 11 of the 19 goals that the Maple Leafs have been able to score in this series have come from the point with traffic in front or a tip, right? Like these shots are all coming from distance, and you get traffic in front and he can't see it, and it goes clean in, or it goes off some sort of deflection off a stick and into the back of the net. So that seems to be the book on Andrei Vasilevsky. Get traffic in front and then try and get a stick on it, and don't give him time off the redirect to find it, because, again, if he sees it, he can react pretty quickly to it. He actually spoke today, funny enough. First time all series, Andrei Vasilevsky spoke. And here's what he had to say on what the Maple Leafs have done so far compared to last year and why they're having success this season. He said, quote, "I think last year they played more skill hockey. This year they're playing that playoff hockey. Instead of creating that super highlight reel loop play, they're just trying to get as many bodies in front as possible and just shoot the puck from the blue line." And then he went on to joke and laugh and say, when someone said, "What do you need to do better?" And he said something to the effect of, well, I could go and buy myself some X-ray goggles, which I thought was a kind of funny comment. But
well, it's a low-key decent comment. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, it is a good comment, but you're right. Like, that's a key to tonight's game. That's been the key this whole series, really, when it comes to scoring goals on Andrei Vasilevsky, is make sure you get traffic in front of the net. Like, absolutely, that is one of them. You're right. The other one that I also had was to get off to a good start. Commit was emergency. When they did that in Game 2, you saw how that kind of spiraled into a great performance pillar to post, and Tampa Bay just was unable to collect themselves. Granted, no Victor Hedman in that game. Big difference. But still, you start off good. You get a couple of, you get yourself a lead, and then you try and build off it as opposed to playing catch up. And the last one I'm going to go with, again, it's pretty simple, but, stay disciplined and then win the special teams battle. The power play has been So important. So important for this team so far through these playoffs. 35% clip is what they're operating at. You look at game 4 in particular, the 4-3 goal came off of the power play, and the game-winning goal, Alex Kerfoot's tip, also coming off of the power play. It's to take an old saying from Mike Babcock. By the way, it was Babcock, not Keefe, who said it.
Yeah, I
The
realized that after we recorded it too.
Yeah, the toughness is in our power play. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but the power play has been a big difference maker in this series. And the 5-on-5 play has been pretty even. You may even say that Tampa's actually controlled, more of the play at 5-on-5. But when you're clipping at 35% on the man advantage, and you've been able to be more disciplined than the opposition, that gives you a good chance to win some games. And listen, I think that's the big reason why they're up 3-1 with a chance to advance as opposed to down 3-1 and, looking to stave off elimination. So it's been a big proponent so far through the first 4 games. I don't think it's going to change here in game 5. So stay disciplined. And when you do get that chance to strike on the power play, take full advantage and try and get it done. That's what the Maple Leafs need to do tonight. So I'm with you, man. There's a lot of emphasis on the hot start, the good start. Make sure that they continue to work in front of Vasilevsky and take away his sight lines on the puck, and ultimately stay disciplined and win that special teams battle, and try and keep the net clear also in front of Samsonov. Would also be a pretty good a good key to victory tonight. We know how much they like to crash the nets and score some of those garbage, dirty rebound goals. So, they clear the net, don't allow those second, third opportunities. They should be in a good spot, and they should find themselves. I don't know if they'll be partying. You think they party if they win game 5 tonight? Like, are they celebrating? Like, I know in baseball, if they win a round, they pop bubbly and it's complete nonsense. But because of what this team's been through the last 20 years realistically, but even this core has been through for the last, 6 years. You think they might take a little edge off and take the day to kind of, take the night, enjoy it, celebrate it, maybe behind closed doors, but celebrate it?
I think to a degree they will. I also think that you got quite a few veterans in the group that will say one round isn't enough. You guys really want to go far, and we got to make sure we're staying on the path.
I get if it's a game 7, I understand, because then it's like, okay, you got 2 more days and then you got another game. But if they win game 5, you already know that Boston's got to play a 6, which means round 2 won't be until probably mid next week. You'll have 5-6 days to recover. What's one night?
What's one night? That's famous last words for. I think some people say famous last words. And you never know what could go wrong. But I mean, I do think
Pasternak, who, what did he do? He actually what was he fell, I guess, or slipped off the curb and broke his hand or something like that. Was that was it 2 years ago or something? You remember hearing something about that?
It was a sponsorship dinner, and he fell and he broke his thumb.
Yeah, sponsorship dinner, and he fell off the curb and broke his thumb. Yes, quotations on all of that. Yes, exactly. So you're right. You never know what could happen, but I don't know.
They would deserve. I think it would be a deserved. Let's go out and let's make sure that we enjoy the accomplishment, but also have the mindset that you got to be right back into the into the fire.
Hey, that's right. Next day you're back in the rink, back in the gym, 100%. Right, but smoke them if you got them, Dave. Smoke them if you got them. They win, dude. King West, like I'm out here on the lakeshore, dude. This place is going to be a zoo.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, when we're recording tomorrow night, if they win, it might be a little hard to keep out the outside noise.
It'll be an absolute zoo out there. It's a zoo as is, with just the ridiculous amount of ambulances that happen to go down this road all the time and people honking their horns. The horn honking, if they went around tomorrow, is going to be insane. It's tonight by the time this podcast is out there to the people. It'll be insane. Trust me. But again, we don't want to get it too far ahead of ourselves here. They got to actually do the damn thing. It's not something that they have done in many opportunities where they've had the opportunity to advance. So we got to see it to believe it. Maybe it comes tonight. Maybe it does come tonight. Let's hope. Let's hope. Go Leafs, go. All right, Dave. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and subscribing to the show, or supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcasts and platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. We'll be back to another episode tomorrow. Will we be celebrating a victory, or will we be somberly teeing up a game number 6? Well, I guess we'll find out tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.